document to look at what happened within the 9 months of the Emmanuel Ikhazoboh's administration.
Yes, the ruling supersedes every activity that was purported to have been carried out during this 9-month period. So whatever that happened, contrary to the contents of the ruling, as it were, is deemed as not to have happened. So the ruling supersedes everything that has happened.
Mr. Okeze, what's your thinking?
Yeah, I agree totally with him, because that's what the judge pronounced on 20th of May, that Friday, that all illegality perpetrated, the manner, the way the woman was removed was illegal and void, null and void, and set aside. That is it. So every activity that conducted at that time have been set aside. So they start school.
Let's get back to Barrister Ike. This is very important. Some of the actions taken by the Emmanuel Ikhazoboh while he was in office as an interim administrator was the sacking of about 80 staff of the stock exchange, and they went to court. They went to Festus Keyamo's chambers, and they said the mass sacking just about 30 days or 60 days after the removal of Fundi Okereke back then, purportedly to have done by the SEC, was illegal. It was against their fundamental human right, and they said it was a cleansing agenda that Emmanuel Ikhazoboh systematically cleansed the stock exchange and brought in at least about 60 new staff. Would you say that these staff who were removed back then have some basis for moving ahead?
Yes, in the light of the present judgment, they would have some basis. Probably if events had happened differently from how it transpired, probably they would not have been sacked the way they were sacked. And so if presumably, if assuming that Okereke remains the Director General, they may not have been sacked. So the law looks at what ought to have been done were it to be that the status quo remained. And that being said, however, you cannot remove the fact that an action remains valid until effectively declared invalid by a court of law, by a competent court of law. So since they have gone to court, it only behooves on us to wait until the court pronounces properly on their case.
So it looks like the tussle will remain,
yes,
until perhaps the appeal court or Supreme Court.
Yes, the tussle will remain. But suffice it to say that Ndi Okereke would be entitled to, so to speak, if we stop it at this judgment, she will be entitled to every benefit, as it were, post appointment benefits.
Yeah, the staff.
Yes, as a staff.
We're talking about the staff.
Yes.
Those mass sacking, and they've gone for a class action.
Yes.
Yes, the staff now,
yes,
not Ndi Okereke.
Yes.
Do they have merit?
Well, they may have merit. They have merit. It's for the court to decide whether they have merit. But Ndi Okereke, I was trying to come from a perspective. If we agree that all the post appointment benefits that Okereke was entitled to, that she is purportedly now presently entitled to them, that means that will she have sacked them? If the answer is yes, then they would have to wait for the court. But if it is that will she not have sacked them, and the answer is yes, that she would not have sacked them, then we will revert to that position. However, note that by a month after the sacking of Ndi Okereke, she would have left office by way of retirement.
Yeah.
Yes, and that means that anything that happened after that 1 month, well, would have happened, under the usual structure, as it were, of Nigerian Stock Exchange. So the courts would have the final say in this situation.
Mr. Okeze, there were a lot of noise when this happened, when Ikhazoboh took those staff out of office, and a note of Bafanali says this was a generation of competent staff of the stock exchange, technical staff that have been taken out of the system.
As it were today, I don't think the stock exchange would be remain the same it was during the reign of Dr. Professor Ndi Okereke, because total massive cleansing and you came for forensic auditing, okay, an interim administrator, the staff was not the problem. There was an allegation made which they were not investigated. That was just faulted them, okay? You now came removing staff because they work with this woman. And these are staff who have been retrained over and over, okay? And you push them through the entrance of the door, and you see the back door, you smuggle people, over 90 people. And this exchange you alleged that what the insolvents, as to say, the exchange is broke. That's why you came in to restructure. And you did not restore the finances. You came to, over double the overhead cost that the state exchange is broke. Where did you get this money to pay over 90 people you employ through the back door? When you show these people away through the entrance of the door, you now brought in people. Those people you brought, are they more competent than those people you removed? That's the question begging an answer. Because they came from one tribe or the other, and these people who know the job, you send them away and you bringing people in. That means what we have been told, the exchange is broke. Exchange is not broke anywhere. Because if the exchange is broke, you could have, have a sort of overhead cost to save the exchange for immense collapse. But you now double the overhead cost by bringing additional people. That means there's nothing wrong with the exchange.
We will need to talk about some of these issues. Barrister Ike, let's get back to you.
Don't even mind the way they were removed, They wanted Doris.
No,
papers.
That's another issue that they were asked. Some of the letters given to the staff says, Ikhazoboh says you have to sign that you will never take the stock exchange to court. But let's get to this part of the discussion, Barrister Ike. When you have an auditor, auditors, external auditors, people who do investigation, audit investigations and things like that. There were questions last year raised about the propriety of the SEC in bringing in someone who had already worked with Ikhazoboh Williams, who had audited the stock exchange for several years without any query on the stock exchange account, to run the same stock exchange as a CEO, an interim CEO, and at the same time conduct a forensic audit and still remain on the same council of the exchange.
Yes. Well, are you trying to raise the issues of conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest, if there is any. Proprietary of whatever must have happened.
As far as you are trying to talk about the interim administrator, that is Ikhazoboh.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, legally speaking, I find it difficult presently to pick holes in his appointment. Now, morally speaking, you may wish to go behind the apparent picture and look at circumstances surrounding his antecedents and his relationship with the stock exchange, and that may bring to the fore certain issues that may be relevant in saying that such appointment goes against the very, very purport of the intention to move the stock exchange forward.
In law?
Yes. In law, in law, you can only talk about conflict of interest, and conflict of interest arises where a person in a position would have personal interest in such a way as his personal interest will conflict with the interest of his office.
So let's look at one or two things, or a few things that happened during Ikhazoboh's tenure. There were reports that he took 11-month bonus. He was employed on the 5th of August last year. He worked for just 5 months, and he took what you call the 11-month bonus.
Yes.
As a staff of the exchange. There were also allegations that he took a vehicle, a Mercedes-Benz S-Class